friends, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Danny, and today we're going to go through another round of non-new release book recommendations. I started this series on my channel a couple of months ago because I know that there is so much hype around new releases that sometimes some books get lost in the fray. And so I wanted to make a space on my channel to give you guys some recommendations of books that were published prior to 2023. So I try and not give any recommendations published in the previous 2 years. And today I wanted to focus on the fantasy genre. I am going to give you 5 different types of fantasy, so if you're only interested in certain subgenres, you can check those out in the timestamps down below and skip around to the ones that you're interested in. All of these are books that I have absolutely enjoyed, and I hope that you will find something among them that you will enjoy as well. The first recommendation that I'm going to give to you guys is a cozy fantasy, or something that I found very cozy, and that is His Majesty's Dragon. This was published in 2006, and this is a dragon book. Obviously, by the title. I've never read Naomi Novik before, so I'm not sure if this is her typical, but I definitely felt like this was a cozy story. In this, you follow a ship captain named Lawrence. He is in England's Navy, and this is set during the time when Napoleon Bonaparte is trying to take over the world. And the ship that Lawrence is the captain of runs into a French ship, and so they take the ship on and take it hostage, if that's what you call that. And they go into the ship, they get the cargo out of the ship, and they realize that within this cargo is a dragon's egg. Dragon's eggs are very rare and they're very precious. The dragon life in this book, you learn throughout the story how dragons are utilized, how they're trained, and how there is a specific subset of people who are trained to be dragon riders, and I forget what they call them in the book. There's a specific name. Harnessers, maybe? Because they use a harness to put on them whenever they have just hatched. And so due to the nature of dragons and the fact that this ship was not intending to run into a dragon egg, there becomes a little bit of a problem when the dragon starts to hatch. And Lawrence has to step in, and he becomes the dragon handler, apparently. The dragon's name is Temeraire, which is the series name, and you get to follow these two characters and their discovery of the world and each other and this circumstance that they have been forced into because of, where the book starts. So I absolutely love this because Temeraire, the amount of questions that he has, but also the intelligence that is shown throughout his character in the book is really interesting, especially compared to some of the other dragons that are in the story, which you also learn about, like all these different types of dragons. This book gave me what I wanted for dragons. I want to know the species. I want to know what they do. I want to know their purpose. I want to know what their personality traits are. I want to know all the details, and this book definitely gave me that. There is also a camaraderie between Lawrence and Temeraire that I just think is very, very sweet. One of the things that stole my heart in this series is that Lawrence actually reads books to Temeraire in the evenings before he goes to sleep, and I just think that that is the sweetest thing ever. I want a dragon who likes to read. Talk about a book dragon. But anyway, if you are looking for a cozy read and you do happen to enjoy dragons, I do think that this one might be a win for you. Next is political fantasy, and I would cautiously say that this is also cozy, but it could have just been me. And that is the Goblin Emperor. This book, you follow a half goblin whose name is Maya, and he is the 6th son, I think, of the Goblin Emperor. And something happens at the very beginning of the book where the Goblin Emperor and his 5 heirs that are before Maya die in a very suspicious way, and Maya becomes the emperor. Well, because Maya was the 6th son and he was a half goblin, he was never trained to be emperor. He was kind of put on the outskirts. He didn't even live in the same kingdom as his father, and was kind of out of the political landscape. So he is thrust into the emperorship and has to figure out how to survive and how to learn about his family's deaths and figure out whether or not he's in danger, while also trying to remain true to himself. There are so many discussions in this about powerful people and friendships, and is it possible to be an emperor and have friends? And I felt for Maya, because so much of this is him kind of bumbling his way through without really having anyone to help him, but him still wanting to be kind and be true to himself. I guess I should explain why it's political, because I'm putting it in the political realm. He has to learn the politics of the realm that he's in, if I didn't say that already. So because he wasn't trained to be emperor, there are a whole bunch of holes in his knowledge on how to act like an emperor, but also how to respond and react and interact with the people who are around him and some of the kingdoms and delegates and things that he has to deal with. So it is very political in nature, but I do think because of who Maya is, it becomes a really cozy story. This is one of the books that I would like to go back and reread once I finish all of the standalone stories that are also set in this world. I am currently on my physical TBR is the Grief Stone, or the Grief of Stones. I can't remember exactly the name. Well, actually, it's right here. So the Grief of Stones is the one on my physical TBR that I haven't gotten to yet, but I do plan on it, and it is set in the same world as the Goblin Emperor. So if you enjoy this, there are a couple other stories that you can read after it. The next genre on this list is what I'm going to call action fantasy. I'm not sure if that's actually a thing, but that's how I describe this author, because a lot of his stories are very action-packed and from one action scene to the next, and I freaking love it. And that is the Founders trilogy. So unfortunately, I do not own the first book in the story, which is called Foundryside. I own Shorefall and Lachlan's, and I am still desperately trying to find a hardback version of Foundryside. I found both of these at a half-price bookstore around me and was really excited, but unfortunately, Foundryside, the hardback cover, is out of print, and each copy I have found is like $300, and I refuse to pay that much for a book. So I do not own Foundryside yet, but I'll put a picture of it up on the screen so you know what the starting storyline is. This book features Sanchia, who is a teenage girl. I think she's a teenager or young 20s, who is a thief, and she gets called to steal something that she doesn't know what it is. She knows that it's behind a pretty impenetrable area, but she has a gift that not a lot of people have, where she can talk to things and see things that others can't by touching it. So for instance, if she walks into a bar and that sounds like the start of a joke, but I don't know why I chose a bar, but let's say she walks into a bar and she wants to know the entire schematic. All she has to do is touch the floorboards and she can see the schematic of the entire bar. And she can talk to certain object as well. There is a magic system in Foundryside that is so intricate, and I freaking love it, where there are things called scribings, which are kind of enchantments, I guess, on items. Think of a wheel. So if I have wheels on a wagon, I can scribe the wheels to think they're rolling downhill, which will actually make them move, even if they're not rolling downhill. And so there are all these different scribings in this city that make this city run. And Sanjia can interact with those. Well, as she has become an excellent thief because of her ability, she does get herself into this pickle where she has to steal something that's very important. She steals it, she gets involved in this huge political craziness that she doesn't really want to be in, but she also knows kind of what's at stake. And so her and a ragtag crew that she ends up accumulating throughout the story have to help with the situation that's created. If I didn't say, Foundryside was published in 2018, and once again, if you like action-packed scenes, if you like action movies, I think you should give Robert Jackson Bennett a try, because all of the books I have read by this author have crazy fast-paced scenes in it. This series in particular, you're going from one scene to the next, and there's so many things happening that are very well done and well put together. The character relationships in these books are also amazing though. So I think you guys should give this a try if it sounds interesting. The next genre is fantasy mystery, and for this I am choosing the Athena Club. The Athena Club was published in 2017, and it starts with The Strange Case of the Alchemist's Daughter. These books are books that are set in a world where all of the fictional female characters from very famous fantasy and sci-fi books come to life and come together to solve mysteries. So all of the women, or not all, but a lot of the women in really famous stories, so think the daughter of Frankenstein, the daughter of Dr. Moreau, you have the daughter of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So there are all these people who you are going to recognize their names. They finally get their own story. And these women come together because of unfortunate circumstances. There's definite found family vibes in this, but these characters are also in the midst of solving a mystery together. And each book follows a different mystery. You get to learn more about these ladies throughout this journey. You also have famous characters such as Sherlock Holmes making appearances in these books. These books also have a really fun dynamic because throughout these entire stories, you are reading this as someone who is observing these ladies write their own book. So there is the breaking of the fourth wall. You get to hear them talk about how, like, that's not really how the story went. And there's little footnotes throughout the books that will have them talking to each other about how these books are being written. And I think that's really fun as well. The last genre I have for you guys is fantasy romance, specifically a YA fantasy romance, and that is Raybearer. Jordan Ifueko recently came up on my Goodreads again because she has recently published, I think it's called The Maid and the Crocodile is her new release, and I am really excited about it, but we're not here to talk about new releases. We're here to talk about old past releases. This was published in 2020, and Raybearer, you follow the main character whose name I'm not going to recall. But she has some, I don't know how much I want to give away because it's been a minute since I've read this and I don't want to give anything away that's super spoilery. But the daughter has some powers, some abilities that are attached to her mother. And specifically, the kind of the overall premise of the book is she has an attachment to her mother that forces her to do anything that her mother says. And in this kingdom, they have I think there's 7 of them. There's like 7 guardians of the emperor, and those 7 are chosen by specific means, and one of them is still up for grabs, essentially. So like you could become, or is it all of them? I think maybe all of them are up for grabs. Once again, it's been a minute since I've read these, but they are forming the circle around the emperor, the 7 people who are going to be most important to the young emperor. So he's not the emperor yet, but the heir to be emperor. They're trying to figure out who his 7 will be. And the main character does have an opportunity, because she does have magical abilities, to be part of this. However, her mother wants the emperor dead, and so she makes her daughter, or tells her daughter, that she is going to go, she's going to pretend to be part of the emperor's upper 7, like get into the upper 7 and then kill the emperor. So it's her job, her deigned duty by her mother to do it. And she goes, and she doesn't want to follow what her mother is asking her to do. And so she has to figure out what to do instead. It's a lovely story. I was so intrigued by the magic system, the mystery behind her mother, and her abilities, the relationship that's formed between the main character and some other characters in the book, I won't say who, are just really fun to see develop throughout the story. And yeah, I think this is a good time. I am looking forward to reading from Jordan Ifueko again. Those are the 5 non-new release fantasy recommendations that I have for you guys. Let me know if any of them intrigued you in the comments. Let me know if you guys have your own recommendations for this. I love the fact that people can come to these videos and look in the comments and find other non-new releases that they should try picking up. If you guys aren't feeling chatty today, you can leave me a key in the comments for Foundryside. If you know, you know. And thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you have a lovely evening, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.